All us freaks have is each other. It's Harmless Phosphorescence. Hello everyone, this is Throw Smiley, and I always allow tongue on the second date. Who is joining me this week?
I'm Josh Cece, and I think something came through.
I'm Brian Lesh, and I promise you, I will always look this good.
I am Clockwork Ninja, Alaric Weber.
And this is Harmless Phosphorescence. It's the podcast where we watch every theatrically released full-length live-action superhero movie ever made. We gather some research into the production and the source material, then we tell you about it. I just wanted to take a minute to encourage all of our listeners out there to rate and review this show. Hit the little stars there on Apple Podcasts or Podcast Addict or Spotify or whatever you're listening to us on. Rate us. Write a little review if you want to, too. That's good. It's the best and easiest way to help us be discovered by new listeners. So, that said, we're going to jump in. This week, we are watching Hellboy.
In the absence of light, darkness prevails.
And ancient evil has returned, greater than any the world has ever known.
60 years ago, they tried to destroy the world. They're back.
Now, one secret government agency
Welcome to the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense.
has been called upon
Hellboy.
to stand against them.
There are things that go bump in the night. And we are the ones who bump back.
Are you gonna be okay?
How big can it be? Didn't I kill you already?
We're heading towards civilians!
Destroy them.
You should be running.
It's coming for us!
Hellboy.
Second date, no tongue.
Hellboy, released April 2nd, 2004, a running time of 122 minutes. It cost $66 million to make and took in $99.8 million. Not the hit I thought it was in retrospect. I thought it was a much more popular movie than that. It didn't even double its budget.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But yeah, so that's some disappointment.
Well, it probably got beat out by Clockwork Ninja by Stanley Kubrick.
Clockwork.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that being said, disappointing box office means it's time for the box office top 10. This is the game where the boys are going to try to guess where it opened and then guess the identity of each movie in the top 10 of that week based on the box office mojo description of that movie. It's a game within a game within a dream. So let's go ahead and start with Al. Where do you think Hellboy opened?
4.
Al says 4. How about Brian?
Movie with hell in it, number 6.
Brian says 6. Josh, where are you going with it?
Number 3.
Number 3. All right. 4, 6,
$1.
3. So now we're playing the box office top 10 game, opening at number 10. An FBI profiler is called in by French-Canadian police to catch a serial killer who takes on the identity of each new victim.
I think Al Pacino's in that, right?
I don't know.
Is this like the Bone Collector? I don't know. No.
Not the Bone Collector, but it's the same kind of movie.
Insomnia?
No. Taking Lives. I think that looks like it might be Angelina Jolie on the cover. I can't tell.
Taking
Was that
Lives
with Morgan
and
Freeman or
Kicking
something?
Yeah, taking lives and kicking ass. Coming in at number 9, a nurse, a policeman, a young married couple, a salesman, and others take refuge in a mall.
Person, man, woman, camera, TV.
It's Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. I cut out the part
yeah.
about zombies to try to make it hurry.
But the list of people.
A nurse, a policeman, a young married couple, and a salesman.
Form the Village People.
A young married. I'm just imagining that village people, the young married couple. Like, shh, he's trying to sleep. Guys, keep it down. Coming in at number 8. A widower must look after his precocious daughter and rebuild his life and career after he's sidelined by an unexpected tragedy and a personal blow-up.
This is Dwayne The Rock Johnson and the little girl, right?
It does not star Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Dang, okay.
It should have, though.
It should.
They all should.
All movies should star Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
I think so.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson is Oscar Schindler.
Who's the actress that Roger Ebert always wanted people to have in
Gene
their movies?
Siskel. And
Gene
it was,
Siskel, that's right.
It was
it Deborah Allen? Debbie Allen?
Allen.
Karen Allen.
Karen Allen.
Karen Allen.
The Rock is our Carolyn Allen.
Right. Any guesses? It stars Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez.
Oh,
Jersey Girl.
Jersey
right?
Girl. Directed by Kevin Smith. It it set several careers back several years.
I kind of like it, and George Carlin's fantastic in it.
That's right. Yeah,
I've never-
Carlin was in this.
I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's cute,
for-
but it's weird.
I often confuse Ben Affleck and The Rock.
Wow.
Ben the Rock Affleck.
If The Rock had been with Jennifer Lopez, they would have been Rockefeller or Rockefeller.
Yeah.
Their celebrity name would have been the Rockefeller Explosion Show.
Or just Jenock.
That's so much more to type.
What about Rock Pez?
Rock Pez.
Rock Pez. Good.
Don't chew him.
Swallow.
Coming in at number 7. An eccentric, if not charming, Southern professor and his crew pose as a classical ensemble in order to rob a casino, all under the nose of his unsuspecting but sharp old landlady.
Oh, the Lady Killers.
Yeah, Tom Hanks, Coen Brothers.
Yeah.
I forgot that was a casino.
Yeah.
robbery.
Yeah, I forgot that's what they were doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it when it was new and then never again. I don't think I liked it as much as most of their films.
Yeah, it's not great, but there's some neat characters.
Yeah, well, and Tom Hanks is Tom Hankson, as always, but Southern.
We're obliged to enjoy him.
Yes. Coming in at number 6. Opening this week. At college, Paige meets Eddie. That's all. No. At college, Paige meets Eddie, a fellow student from Denmark whom she first dislikes, but later accepts, then likes, then loves. He proves to be Crown Prince Edvard. Paige follows him to Copenhagen, and he follows her back to school with a plan.
That was Hellboy.
So detailed.
He unlocked the Dutch kingdom with his hand. We saw that movie, right?
It was the Prince and Me, starring Julia Stiles. I definitely never saw that.
What an ass.
Coming in at number 5. Depicts the final 12 hours in the life of Jesus. on this day of his crucifixion.
License to drive.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Jesus Christ Superstar.
The Passion.
The Passion of the Christ.
This was a Mel Brooks movie, right? Oh, Mel Gibson. Right.
Well,
Mel Brooks.
Mel
Would have been
Brooks.
great.
Mel Brooks.
I saw this in Yuma, and there were so many people protesting it. My buddy had a shop right around the corner from the movie theater, and we just walked over, and there were like 300 old ladies. Maybe not 300, maybe like 100 old ladies with signs. It was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen up to that point in my life. It's great.
Was it Too Passionate, Too Christ?
Oh, yeah.
Coming in at number 4. Also opening this week, to save their farm, the resident animals go bounty hunting for a notorious outlaw. This is animated.
Is it Chicken Run?
No. Home on the Range.
Never saw it.
Also opening that week. There's a lot of movies opening this week. Number 3. The Mystery Inc. gang must save Coolsville from an attack of past unmasked monsters brought to life by an evil masked figure trying to unmask the gang.
Mask.
Mask again. Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, just
Scooby-Doo 2.
It's part 2?
Yeah, part 2. 1 was 2000, I think?
So 2's when they're on the tropical island. That's kind of...
No. One's on the tropical island.
Oh, okay.
2 is they're in Coolsville. Yeah. It's one with Seth Green. All right. Coming in at number 2. A former U.S. soldier returns to his hometown. This is also opening this week to find it overrun by crime and corruption, which prompts him to clean house.
Rambo.
Which is how he started his house cleaning business.
I'm good at this.
Is this starring The Rock?
It is.
Is this The Rundown?
No.
What is that movie called? The Big Something? He hits people with a cricket paddle?
Walking Tall.
Walking Tall. That's it. Yeah, you got it.
That's a remake, yeah.
Yeah. Before I clicked on it, I was thinking it was Walk Hard.
Dude.
And number 1, a demon raised from infancy after being conjured by and rescued from the Nazis grows up to become a defender against the forces of darkness.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Karen Allen's in this, right?
Two Rock, two Johnson.
Too Fast.
If he'd been if he'd been white and a star in the 50s, his stage name would have been Rock Johnson.
Yeah.
This is Hellboy. We totally underestimated it. This opening weekend.
Yeah, Hellboy did open at number 1. With 30 million, it had a steep fall off. I'm wondering if in the weeks to come, if there was like something that opened that just took all the air out of the room. Let me see what's week 2.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah. It's weird because it's like actually a good movie.
Week 2, Passion of the Christ was number 1. And then its third week, Kill Bill Volume 2 was number 1.
Oh.
And then, I don't know. It just didn't catch on with the movie going public, apparently.
It has hell in the title.
Yeah. Are you going to go see Jesus or Hellboy?
Yeah. Probably sold tickets to Jesus movie, too.
Yeah, probably.
Just going to call it Jesus movie because it's a terrible movie. Ugh.
Jesus, the movie.
That's all I kept saying for the whole thing. I was like,
based on
Jesus.
it
was
based on
Jesus
biblical events.
Porn.
Based on the autobiography by Joan Collins. Anyways.
Oh God, yeah. Oh Jesus.
Oh Jesus.
Oh Mel Gibson. What the fuck are you
Oh
doing?
Jesus, you devil. Anyways.
I wonder if Mel Gibson has the same philosophy as Kanye. He's like, I made Jesus walks. I'm getting into heaven. Was Mel Gibson that like his ticket to heaven? It's like making a
yeah.
Hear about it on our other podcast. We watch terrible religious movies.
Maybe it's his anti-Semitism. Who knows?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. He's like, if that doesn't get me into heaven. What
not long after his rant to the cops that he made this, he's like, look, see, it was the Jews.
Well, and I have to wonder, anti-Semites, what are they going to do if they meet Jesus? The man is Jewish.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to have a hard time.
Anyways, that being said, this movie was based on a comic book. Al Weber, tell us about it.
Yes, sir. Hellboy was created by writer and artist Mike Mignola, who is best known for his work on Hellboy and related titles. Mignola's style has been described by Alan Squiffy Moore as German expressionism meets Jack Kirby.
I love his artwork. I always have.
Yeah, it's very expressionist, or I kind of thought like impressionist. A lot of shadows. It's really cool. It's good art.
The way people are shaped is really interesting. It shows a lot of like emotion and like the slump of their shoulders and stuff.
Right.
So, Hellboy, world's greatest paranormal investigator, first appeared on the cover of Dime Press #4 in March of 1993. I think that was a convention-related publication, and that was just sort of his prototype. He just sort of threw it out there. The first story appearance was in August of 1993 in San Diego Comic-Con Comics #2. The concept for Hellboy was first shopped out to DC Comics, who loved it but didn't like the idea of involving hell.
Who liked it but didn't love it.
Hellboy found a home at Dark Horse Comics, independently published in his first miniseries, Hellboy: Seed of Destruction, upon which this movie is largely based. Seed of Destruction premiered in March of 1994 with a story by credit to Mignola, and the series was scripted by John Byrne, probably most noted for his work on X-Men and Fantastic Four. Seed of Destruction opens in 1944 with the British and U.S. militaries camped out at an English church, accompanied by paranormal experts who have sensed a disturbance.
In the Force?
One might say.
But not this balls. One.
On a tiny island off the Scottish coast, hundreds of miles away, a mysterious sorcerer and his Nazi employers attempt a conjuring.
Employers is a fun word.
Nazi employers. They're like, how's the dental with the Third Reich?
Hey, it comes with a pension. Who am I to argue?
This was the inspiration for the movie Terrible Bosses.
Yep. They are terrible. They are terrible bosses.
It appears nothing comes of the sorcerer's promised miracle, but back in England, a demon-like child comes to Earth in a tremendous fireball. Paranormal whiz kid Trevor Brutenholm, pronounced Broom, dubs him Hellboy. 50 years later, having returned from an ill-fated expedition to the Arctic, Broom is visited by a Hellboy, then killed by some sort of frog demon.
Some sort of frog demon.
Some sort. So many to choose from.
All right, investigating at Cavendish Hall, ancestral home of the family who funded the expedition, Hellboy, accompanied by Liz Sherman and Abe Sapien, all members of the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense. That was sort of a partial sentence. I don't know where. Anyway, we come to find out that this was all a trap laid out by Rasputin, who was the sorcerer who called Hellboy to this realm. Rasputin employs the assistance of Sadhu Hem, many-tentacled spawn of the Ogdru Jihad, the seven beasts of darkness and destruction, which Rasputin hopes to resurrect. It doesn't go particularly well.
He hopes. He's all, fingers crossed. Wish me luck.
Hellboy possesses superhuman strength and durability, an extensive knowledge of the supernatural, an immunity to fire and lightning, and the right hand of doom.
No genius level intellect.
No, not him. But Abe was given a genius level intellect for the purpose of the movie.
Wow.
A Niles level intellect.
Oh, yeah. Arguably the smarter of the Fraser brothers, right?
Oh, God, absolutely.
Here's an interesting note. Hellboy was raised in New Mexico.
Huh. That would explain why he's so into Cocopelli.
Maybe down on Gamma Base.
It explains why he's always selling turquoise jewelry.
It explains why I like green chilies.
Abraham Sapien, the amphibious man, can breathe underwater and swim at great speeds. He's an excellent marksman and hand-to-hand combatant. He is possibly immortal, having lived over 200 years.
Oh.
Abe's genius-level intellect and psychic intuition are unique to this film franchise. The movies also did not portray him as particularly strong.
So he just was a swimming guy.
Yeah, he was.
Awesome.
But
Not very good at that.
In the comics, he was stronger than they made him out to be in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Also in the comics, he did not need breathing apparatus to breathe outside of water. I don't know if you guys...
Yeah, I caught that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I figured he was amphibious.
Yeah. Elizabeth Sherman, she has the power of pyrokinesis. But unlike Pyro of the X-Men, she can and did start the fire.
She has...
Liz's abilities manifested at age 10. At age 11, she loses control and destroys a city block, killing her family. Taken in by the BPRD, she learns to control her powers somewhat and becomes an agent. Still haunted by her childhood trauma, she would take frequent leaves of absence from the Bureau. From what I recall, a romantic relationship between Liz and Hellboy was not explored in the comics.
Yeah. You have to have it in the movie. You have to have it.
Yeah. I found narratively, there were several lines, and I watched this movie twice, that I found difficult to follow. I couldn't figure out whether Hellboy or John Myers were doing a hero's journey, because there was definitely a hero's journey through line and a romantic lead through line, but it kept crisscrossing between those two. And obviously that was on purpose, but I don't know. I found it a little muddled.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good point.
What the movie did well was using the basic premise from Seed of Destruction, but then employing elements and character developments that would be sprinkled throughout the comics in later issues.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple instances I'll throw in that come from like short stories.
Okay.
But they were able to flesh it out because a direct adaptation of Seed of Destruction would probably have been a little thin for a movie. Wasn't a lot of character development. It was a very straightforward plot. I don't know. It might have been an hour long if they tried it.
Yeah. And this, I don't know. This felt like a good length. It did not drag like so many films have.
Yeah. Well, and it was 2
fun.
hours and change. Yeah, it didn't seem as long. Didn't seem as long as some 90-minute movies would have done.
No.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Al. So that brings us to the film itself, written and directed by Guillermo Del Toro, who we spoke about recently on Blade 2. It's got a story by credit for Peter Briggs, who, let's see, also he wrote an Alien versus Predator screenplay in 91, which never got made. And that is his only other film credit. He did a lot of TV stuff. Thunderbirds Are Go. He's been working with Weta a lot behind the scenes. He seems to be mostly a cinematographer.
I want to say I love Guillermo del Toro's work. I think it's super, super impressive. And I feel like he takes a known property and makes it his own in the same way that Burton did.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm telling this familiar tale of a familiar character, but my touch and my style is all over it.
He has a very distinctive film style. Absolutely.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Absolutely. He's definitely into like water dudes.
Yeah, they look exactly the same. They're both Doug Jones, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. I found. I was very impressed with the with the lip syncing. I watched it a few times. I don't know whether David Hyde Pierce, who was, by the way, uncredited, but it is verified that he did the voice of Abe Sapien. If David Hyde Pierce matched the lips of Doug Jones, or if Doug Jones matched David Hyde Pierce's voice. But I kept watching, and they were so spot on, and he had a very distinctive delivery. So I don't know.
Quick note about David Hyde Pierce. He actually refused credit for this movie out of respect for Doug Jones's performance.
Nice.
Oh wow, class act.
Yeah. Let's see. On with the production. The score was by Mark Beltrami. We don't talk about the score often because it's been like the same four guys for every movie, and we kind of discussed them early on. But Mark Beltrami, not exactly new. Let's see. He's also we'll see him again in Jonah Hex, Wolverine, The Wolverine, Logan. He also did 3:10 to Yuma, Snowpiercer, World War Z, Terminator 3, A Quiet Place. So he's
there's a lot of music in The Quiet Place.
Yes, there is. Ironically.
If the drummer from Def Leppard is there.
As far as the cast goes, Ron Perlman stars as Hellboy. We discussed him previously.
Did I say Led Zeppelin or Def Leppard?
I don't know.
Sorry, continue.
Ron Perlman, we discussed in Blade 2 also. Of course, he was in City of Lost Children, Alien Resurrection, Sons of Anarchy, and I first saw him in the Beauty and the Beast series in the 80s, a.k.a. my mom's favorite show for like 6 months. We've got John Hurt.
Ron Perlman was apparently he was independently chosen by Mignola and Del Toro separately. He was like their first pick, but they came up with that on their own.
He's perfectly cast.
And
perfectly.
The studio wanted Vin Diesel or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
I think they both would have been fine. But Ron Perlman was perfect.
Yeah, he really was.
John Hurt played Trevor. Every time I read this last name for a second, I think it says butthole. Trevor Brutenholm.
Mississippi John Hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah. John Hurt is Trevor Butthole. He first came to prominence in 1966 when he in A Man for All Seasons. He's been in so many things. Midnight Express. He played John Merrick in The Elephant Man. He was in 1984. Rob Roy. He was in the Harry Potter series, V for Vendetta, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
I heard Beaver Vendetta.
Beaver That's an entirely different movie, but I need to see it immediately. Kevin Trainer played young Trevor Brutenholm. I almost called him Kevin Butthole. Selma Blair played Liz Sherman. Selma Blair, best known for playing Cecil in Cruel Intentions. She's been in Legally Blonde, The Sweetest Thing. She was on the WB sitcom Zoe, Duncan, Jack and Jane. Monkey, Toad, and Alice.
Oh yeah, kicking and screaming.
Yeah. She's been in Anger Management recently, American Crime Story. She won a Grammy for narrating the audiobook version of The Diary of Anne Frank, which I did not know. Let's see. Millie Wilkie played young Liz Sherman. Rupert Evans played Johnny Myers. Why is that in quotes?
That's what his friends call him.
Right.
You know.
He's a member of the Royal Shakespeare Company. He's been in The Man in the High Castle, Charmed. Let's see. This is really the biggest film role he did. He's in Crime and Punishment. Bunch of stuff you haven't heard of. Emma. He was in Emma, the 2009 version. Carl Roden as Grigory Rasputin, better known as Not Joey Pants. And with hair and not the beard, he actually looks nothing like Joey Pants. So
Right.
He was in The Bourne Supremacy. Let's see, Bulletproof Monk, Mr. Bean's Holiday. Oh God, a bunch of movies you haven't heard of, and he does a lot of voice work in Grand Theft Auto 4. Jeffrey Tambor, notorious asshole and canceled dickhead, stars as Tom Manning. Of course, he was Hank Kingsley in the Larry Sanders Show, George Bluth Sr. in Arrested Development. He had to
Frankenstein.
Yeah. He had to quit Transparent because of his dickheadedness. I mean, he's been in a bunch of stuff. Everyone knows Jeffrey Tambor. Let's see. Doug Jones is Abe Sapien. He plays weird moving animal guys a lot. Pan's Labyrinth, Shape of Water, Mimic. He's been in so many things. We saw him in Batman Returns.
Yeah.
He played a clown. He was in Mystery Men as Pencilhead. Jack Frost 2, Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman.
That's a superhero movie, right? We have to do that one?
Definitely. Definitely. We'll see him again in Fantastic Four, where he plays the Silver Surfer. Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer. So, Doug Jones, he's in a lot of stuff. John dies at the end. Did you guys see that or read that book?
Oh, no.
Good book. Good book. Movie was okay.
Did somebody die?
Well, no, ironically. David Hyde Pierce from Frasier did the voice of Abe Sapien, uncredited, as Al mentioned, by his choice. Brian Steele played Samael, the resurrection dog. He does a lot of Doug Jonesy type creature work. He played Harry in Harry and the Hendersons.
Wow.
He did Monkey Bone, Men in Black 2, a lot of guy in a suit work. Let's see. Ladislav Baron played Carl Cronin. That's the Clockwork Ninja. Bridget Hodson as Ilsa Hopstein. That's the Nazi Karen. Corey Johnson as Agent Clay. Brian Casp as Agent Lime. James Babson as Agent Moss. There were a lot of agents. William Hoyland played Klaus von Krupt. Angus McInnes as Sergeant Whitman. And that kind of rounds out our cast there. This movie.
Just to, I have a couple notes. And you mentioned all those Nazis. Those characters were in Cronin and Ilsa, what's her name? They were in the Seed of Destruction. They were actually there at the initial summoning.
Yes.
But they wouldn't play a prominent part in the rest of that miniseries. But then they would come back in future stories.
Okay.
So they were sprinkled out through the history of Hellboy.
Okay.
Guillermo Del Toro, he chose to make this movie over Alien vs. Predator, The Prisoner of Azkaban, and Blade Trinity.
Oh, wow. I mean, I can't argue with it, but I would have loved to have seen Guillermo Del Toro's Alien vs. Predator.
I would have loved to see him make all of those movies.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, totally.
Although, what's his face? Who did Azkaban? It was the Mexican director. What is his name? He just won an Oscar recently.
Inarritu? Can't pronounce it.
It's is that it? It's I'm gonna find out because it's gonna drive me nuts. It was Prisoner of Azkaban, directed by Alfonso Cuarón.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. One of that trinity of Mexican directors that over the last 15 years has been just killing it.
Ron Perlman, to prepare for this movie, he read all the Hellboy comics and he worked out 3 hours a day.
Good for him.
Nice.
I hate when they say they don't read the comic.
Yeah. It's backstory. Read the comic.
Also, they were thinking of putting the giant stone hand on Hellboy's left hand to make it easier for the actor. So he would have right hand mobility. Yeah. But it turned out that Ron Perlman is left-handed.
Hey.
So they didn't need to.
Nice.
Nice.
Nice. Okay. So this film has 81% on Rotten Tomatoes. I could not find the Ebert and Roper review online, which is becoming more and more typical these days. This is just not an era of broadcast television that's been documented on the internet. But Roger Ebert did write for the Chicago Sun-Times, Hellboy is one of those rare movies that's not only based on a comic book, but also feels like a comic book. It's vibrating with energy, and you can sense the zeal and joy in its making. Of course, it's constructed of nonstop special effects, bizarre makeup, and a preposterous storyline, but it carries that baggage lightly. Unlike some CGI movies that lumber from one set piece to another, this one skips lightheartedly through the action. So, Roger liked this one. Unlike so many others, which, and the dividing line of what he likes and what he doesn't seems to be utterly unseeable.
Is that a positive review? I don't know. It was sort of wishy-washy. It's like, I don't know, preposterous storyline.
Yeah. I mean,
it was not.
No more
not.
So, I mean, how many movies involve magic Nazis? I mean, there's a lot.
Truly.
There's a lot. Raiders is the first that comes to mind. But, yeah. So, anyways, that about brings us up to the movie. You guys ready to jump into it?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
This is Hellboy. We open with a quote about ancient monsters, then a voiceover by Dr. Brutenholm, not Butthole.
Pronounced Broom.
Dr. Broom. He takes us back.
Pronounced Butthole.
The K is silent. He takes us back to 1944 and a small island off the coast of Scotland. He's a paranormal advisor to FDR there with the American military. They come across a group of Nazis along with Rasputin, his girlfriend, and their cyborg buddy in the middle of a mystical rite/steampunk experiment to open a portal to another dimension/hell and let big Lovecraftian space squids through to destroy Earth.
Yeah, another dimension.
Yeah.
Yep.
The army attacks. They defeat the Nazis, closing the portal, although Rasputin gets sucked through, and his pals escape. Dr. Broom gives a soldier the backstory on Rasputin, and they discover that a creature did come through the portal, a tiny red demon with horns and a giant right hand. Dr. Broom adopts him, names him Hellboy, and it's time for a credit sequence.
Okay, so Rasputin's eyeballs went first, right?
Yeah.
Like, we see that happen?
Yeah, that did happen.
Is there a comic book reason why that happens? Does that happen in the comic book?
No, I kind of missed what you're talking about. His eyeballs popped out first?
Yeah, and when he comes back, spoiler alert, she's like, your eyeballs, what happened to them? And that's why they have this whole thing with the glass eyeballs. It was just, there was like a lot of showing us that he had no eyes because of this thing. It was weird. But I didn't catch a reason why.
I feel like that's just a Guillermo Del Toro thing that he thought was fun or funny.
It was interesting, though. Yeah, it was very interesting.
I didn't read past Seed of Destruction for the the research on this one. I've read all those stories before, but in the first book, Rasputin does not have a lack of eyeballs. When he gets vanquished, he ultimately comes back at some point. He may come back without eyeballs. I don't know. That might be a future plot point.
Well, you know what he has a lack of is
empathy.
Well, yes, that also. But penis. It's currently sitting pickled in a museum in Moscow.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they chopped it off of him, as well as shooting and poisoning and stabbing.
And throwing him in a river, yes.
Throwing him in a river and lighting him on fire. There's a whole bunch of shit, right?
Yeah.
And at one point, the German chick kisses Rasputin, and it just made me think, like, that's what it would be like if that would be Casablanca if told from the Nazis' point of view.
Oh, God.
We're all coming together. I love you. Yeah.
There was a pretty prominent Wilhelm scream at 7 minutes, 39 seconds.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, right
away. What about that guy? Why didn't he become evil? He's in another dimension.
He just didn't have it in him.
Nope.
Maybe you're born with it.
It's true. Maybe it's just being Rasputin. Yeah.
Maybe it's Rasputin.
What does the Fuhrer look kindly on?
Right. Yeah, we hear so often about what he doesn't look kindly on. What?
Yeah, I think the list of what he does like is shorter than the.
He's like, well, I love Powerpuff Girls.
It's like German Shepherds.
That's it.
That's about it.
Schnitzel.
Coconut ice cream.
It's like, I tolerate Eva. Sorry. What am I doing a Hitler impression for?
So the credit sequence tells us that Hellboy has become a mythical creature in the public consciousness. And we cut to Moldavia, present day, where Nazi Nancy Grace and TikTok Zombie Bot are being led to some secret ice temple. They kill their guide to activate a blood portal, and Rasputin emerges from a pool of marinara.
Yeah, marinara.
It was chunky.
Yeah, and we're finding out that Baby Ruth can soothe any beast, from Sloth.
Oh, yeah.
In the Goonies to Hellboy.
Baby Ruth specifically. It's not.
Yep, Baby Ruth.
It's, I don't know. Is that anybody's favorite candy bar?
No, but I'll eat it.
I mean,
yeah,
sure.
I like it, but it's not my favorite.
Professor Broom, he didn't have those along with him to snack on himself. That was just in case he came across some monsters.
It's better than holy water.
He's like, you know what creatures from other dimensions like? Confections.
Well, I just thought, dude had 2 Baby Ruths in the 1940s. He has got a serious sweet tooth,
right? And he's with the army. That wasn't like chocolate rations or anything.
Yeah.
Like some of those GIs would have murdered him for that.
Did you bring enough for everyone? I didn't know there'd be so many.
Yeah, he's giving them to Hellboy. They're just like gonna shoot him for it. Oh God! Anything for Baby Ruth.
Then in New York, we cut to Dr. Broom in a doctor's office. He's sick, but he ain't telling anybody.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt again. They showed all the headlines in newspapers from sightings of him. And I wrote another New York Post headline. Hulking Hellboy haunts hoodlums' hoods. All right. Yeah, that's my New York Post.
Let's see. On the way home, Dr. B sees his colleague Tom Manning on TV telling a talk show host there's no such thing as Hellboy or a secret paranormal government agency. We then irony cut to that very agency where FBI agent John Myers is just arriving for his first day at work.
The sign at the gate was the Squeaky Clean Waste Management Services.
Was Men in Black also waste management, the secret entrance?
I forget.
It was like the battery. It was like the battery drive or something. It was like a power company, I think is what their firm was.
Okay, so let's see. He meets Dr. Broom and an aquatic telepath named Abe Sapien. They do a walk and talk that explains that they were founded during World War II to fight supernatural threats. Then he's ushered into Hellboy's room. He meets Hellboy, who's in trouble for breaking out to see his former co-worker Liz. We and John discover he ages much more slowly than humans, loves cats, eats a lot of food, and files his horns down to fit in with humans better.
So there was a quick couple of lines when they first walk into the room. The guy says, what was that, Clay, I think? So Clay says to Myers that he's fed 6 times a day and has a thing for cats. Mm-hmm. And they said it so close together, I just couldn't help thinking of Alf.
Yes.
Yeah. I did too.
But no, he loves cats not for eating, but for petting.
Wait, did Alf eat cats?
Oh, yeah.
Alf ate cats, yeah.
Alf loved eating.
Delicacy.
Yes.
Wow. Lurkins.
Yeah. There was a year and a half where Alf had 3 shows in the top 10. It was a heady time in the late 80s.
Wow.
Yeah. So an alarm goes off, and they're off on a job at a museum. A statue that contained an evil being got destroyed, and the evil being got out. They used Abe's telepathy, and Hellboy fights the monster, which keeps coming back from the dead. Did
anyone catch Pete Yorn's Red Right Hand playing in the background?
Yeah.
Well, it's a cover, right?
Yeah, it's not the Nick Cave version.
Nick Cave. Yeah,
right.
But that was cool.
Yeah. Red Right Hand. So let's see. Eventually, the monster knocks Hellboy out onto the street, where he sees Rasputin, but he's soon distracted by fighting the monster. Agent Myers finds him on the street and tries to help. He gets the squid stuck to his arm for a minute, then pulls it off. The baby Samael. But then Agent Myers gets injured and has to hold back. Hellboy and the Beast fight their way into the subway, where Hellboy finally finishes him off by electrocution. However, what he doesn't see is 2 smoke spirit thingies rising up from the corpse. Hellboy?
He saved Myers' life out on the street because they were playing Frogger.
Yeah.
And Myers gets clipped, so Hellboy tries to make that guy stop briefly and then just flips his car over.
Yeah. Which looked really cool.
It did. I'm wondering, that's kind of become like a trope at this point. I can remember from Stranger Things. I'm wondering if this was the first instance of that, because it's clearly a CGI thing. So I'm wondering when that first appeared. This is the earliest I can remember seeing it.
You might be right, yeah.
It's also the trope of demolishing a vehicle rather than just pulling the guy out of the way.
Right? It would have been so much faster.
Right. Like Superman in a train.
Just pick him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and he played it so well, not knowing what was going to happen. Just having this look of whoops, as the car flipped.
Right. And,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the trope of so then also there's the pushing the person out of the way so the car can continue to hit you. Is it not faster for you to continue to take advantage of your own momentum?
To run across, yeah.
No, people are pool balls.
Right. So Hellboy decides to go AWOL and visit Liz rather than going back home after he finishes off the Samael. He goes to
he steals that dude's beer.
Yeah, the Bud Light.
The obvious Bud
Light plug. Yeah. Bud Light.
There's a few of those in this movie.
Oh yeah, Bud Light and Baby Ruth.
And Red Bull.
I thought it was just
Red Bull,
a tail. I didn't know he could manipulate it. That's cool.
That was not his tail. Why do you think Liz is freaked out by this guy?
Yet intrigued.
Yes.
Penis thief strikes again.
You'd think Hellboy would have
that's what they should have named this movie.
You'd think Hellboy would have stolen a stronger beer.
Yeah, Bud Light.
Unless Liz has a preference for light beer.
IPAs weren't a big thing this this time of year and
No, they
Nope.
in the world.
So he goes to the psychiatric institute she's in. He tries to convince her to come home, but she doesn't want to. She's finally learning to control her fire-creating powers. Then meanwhile, back at the museum, Director Manning is grumpy. Abe uses his telepathy to discover that Rasputin and crew freed the monster. Abe also learns the professor is sick. The gang finds Hellboy at Liz's. They take him home, where they discover that the monster planted eggs in Hellboy's arm. They decide to go back to the subway the next day and look for more eggs. Definitely wait 12 hours, guys.
Sorry to quibble, but when he touches objects and like determines he gets vibes off of an object, that's actually psychometry.
Thank you, Al.
Wow.
Wow.
I will make a note of it.
Add it to the list of superpowers. Psychometry. We've had that before. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had it for almost a year. I had to have a surgery.
You got it checked out, though. There are specialists for that kind of thing.
But you're not allowed to eat for 24 hours beforehand.
That is correct.
That was the Jedi power people were uncomfortable with in The Last Jedi, too. Was the touching of stuff.
Yeah.
And getting of visions.
I'm often uncomfortable with the touching of stuff. That night in her bed at the Institute, Liz is sleeping. Rasputin does some creepy magic on her and makes her dream of when she was bullied as a kid, which causes her to explode and burst into flame, making the entire hospital go up. Did he have to invade her space so much?
No, never.
I wrote down he kissed fire into her brain.
Yes. Which
I mean, it was already there, but he just creepily kissed her on the forehead.
Yeah, which sounds romantic, but in this instance, back at the HQ, Agent Myers offers to try to help bring back Liz. Hellboy gets all hostile towards him, and Agent Myers wants to leave. Dr. Broom convinces him to stay by telling him he's not going to live forever, and he wants Myers to take over when he's gone.
Okay, so this scene with the pancakes, which Hellboy pronounces pancakes with an M instead of N. So this was actually a short story entitled Pancakes, in which a young Hellboy is given pancakes for the first time, and he doesn't want to try them because he thinks they're yucky. And then he takes a bite, and he realizes that he loves them. And then there's this cut scene to hell where several demons are in hell conversing, and they say, "It is the boy. He has eaten the pancake. He will never come back to us now. Truly, this is our blackest hour."
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a real funny 2-page short story. It was really cute.
That's awesome. And nice reference.
Yeah.
I really have to appreciate how much Del Toro appreciates the source material that he works with.
Yeah. Yes.
So the next morning, Myers goes to the Institute and convinces Liz to come back to the agency. Meanwhile, down in the subway, they go egg hunting. It's the best Easter ever. They find a lot more than they were counting on. There's a bunch of eggs and monsters and Cronin, the cyborg guy. All the agents get killed. Abe's injured. Hellboy saves some kittens after a long fight sequence. And Cronin fakes being dead to get into the headquarters.
So they were in the subway, right? Initially?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Hellboy finds the other Sammy, the other Samael, and they fight a little bit, but then they fall several hundred yards down some shaft, or a couple of shafts. They fall down one shaft and bounce over to another one, and they fall several hundred yards into another subway.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's subways all the way down, Al.
It always has been.
Always.
Yeah. So then back at the base, Abe is put into. Yeah.
Sorry, real quick. There was a cute the last brick gag. When Hellboy gets thrown into the wall and he's just sort of sitting there, and then that last final tile falls on his head.
Yeah.
He says, "Ow!" It's just this classic like Laurel and Hardy era gag. That was fun.
That was a cute gag. That, and then the kitten, the lady yells, "My kittens!" Why is she bringing her box of kittens on the subway?
I read that the only part of Ron Perlman you could actually see was his eyelids. Everything else was covered in some sort of prosthetic or makeup. So a lot of credit to the dude for his physicality in the way that he acts.
Oh yeah,
and the way that he communicated that awkwardness and like the cuteness with the cats and stuff.
Absolutely.
It was funny. The kittens were like 3 feet in front of that woman. Why didn't she just like dash out there and grab it?
Yeah.
But he has to make a point to go and grab it and hold the box while he's fighting off this monster.
He couldn't just push the box of kittens away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just nudge it a little bit towards her.
He tells somebody to call for an ambulance to the sewer or to the underground.
I assume he was talking on a radio, but no one was answering. They had earpieces.
I understand, but what he expects the ambulance.
An ambulance to come down there. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Maybe they have an ambulance train.
Like a rappelling team.
But none of the hospitals are on the line. Back at the base, Abe's put into a back-to-tank to heal. Manning has words with Hellboy, who decides to scare the hell out of him. Liz arrives just then, and Hellboy is trying to come up with a way to tell her how he feels about her, but decides not to when he finds out Liz and Myers are going out for coffee.
Say your real name. My real name is Kevin Dufresne.
His room was really funny with the notes everywhere.
Yeah. That was cute.
Clearly he is still a teenage boy.
Yeah. And the giant bowls of chili.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they said he was about 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still hasn't developed as an adult in that sense.
I didn't think about that, but he's pulling that off, Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
It's not just a gruff,
He's also petulant.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
Following them.
Well, and he still lives with his dad. Like, there's some very coming of age stuff in this, actually.
Well, and fighting with his dad too.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not speaking to each other when we first see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Layers, man.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Hellboy follows Liz and Myers spying on their date from the rooftops. Back at the lab, Dr. Broom discovers a clue while examining Cronin's corpse to Rasputin's plan. It points to Moscow. Cronin wakes up, puts himself together. Rasputin arrives, shows the doctor a glimpse of the future with big Lovecraftian squids and Hellboy as the king of hell. Then Cronin kills the doctor.
The rooftop scene, it was another demonstration of Hellboy's immaturity because he flips out because she takes his picture with a Polaroid.
Right.
And he says it like 4 times, like, she took his picture. Just
just affected.
And how he escapes, he just punches a hole through his wall and leaves.
Right.
Kool-Aid Man style.
Yeah, which is great. It just shows like how he is unstoppable and you can't trap him, but also that he's just a teenage boy punching holes in his wall.
Absolutely, yeah. And the thing with the thing with his rooftop friend was fun. That was cute.
The kid is cute.
Yeah.
Cookies and milk.
Right.
Yeah.
And the kid's trying to give him advice.
Yeah.
It's like, he says what? And
you're 9 years old.
Yeah.
He's like, look, there's at least 50 ways to leave your lover.
Step out the back, Jack.
Stab him in the heart, Art. Hellboy.
Jump off the roof, you doof.
Punch him in the face, Ace.
Sleep with their mom, John. The
Hit him
agent,
with a rock,
Whoa,
Spock.
that's really specific.
What was yours, Al?
Hit him with a rock, Spock.
Spock's like, I will. Dun, 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 dun. The agents arrive to tell Myers and Liz about the doctor's death. Hellboy's pretty shook. We got a funeral. And afterwards, Hellboy's all sad.
They missed a real opportunity to have him just jump off the roof. Be like, what are you guys talking about?
Be like, were you there all along? No.
I saw you behind that tree.
Afterwards, let's see. Manning's in charge. He plans on following the clue to Moscow based on what the doctor discovered. Liz tells Hellboy that she'll go to Moscow with him. So they go to Moscow. Where the clue?
You know, Moscow is for lovers.
Yeah. Moscow in winter is the most romantic place on earth. Ask Napoleon and Hitler.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think Napoleon died single, right? It was that winter that did it.
Well, I mean, technically, Hitler died single too. Eva went first.
Too soon enough for the two of them.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, they're led to a graveyard. They're looking for Rasputin's mausoleum. They find it with the help of a local resident that Hellboy resurrects.
This was another short story that was employed for this. It was just called The Corpse, but he digs up half of a corpse and carries it around while he's giving him directions.
I remember that one. It's interesting. It certainly doesn't matter because it's just for the story, but he didn't have a mausoleum, you know? Like, he wasn't buried in any, you know? They wrapped him in a carpet and threw him in a river, and that was that.
Yeah.
After all the other things, poisoning, stabbing, yeah.
Because this is Russia.
Well, were they implying that it was like a secret society that held his, and his mausoleum was there, and that's why there was nobody ever there again? It was the last one
and also that he keeps, like he uses like supernatural powers to come back from the dead, so it's more like his home base than an actual mausoleum.
Yeah, I assumed that it had been like erased from maps or something.
All right, could be.
Yeah. So they let's see, they go in.
Well, either way, there's no dispute in Rasputin.
Bada bing. Josh will be playing the Poconos all weekend.
All weekend.
I feel like this is like the first movie that's taken the source material and adapted it. I don't want to say so straightforwardly, because it doesn't really adapt it that more straightforwardly than previous things, but it plays with a lot of like a lot of different areas of the comics in the ways that the MCU would quite a bit, because there's large chunks of the MCU that are chunks of comic runs that they kind of mishmash together and like chop like, and I feel like this is the first movie that I've seen do that we've covered.
Like truly inspired by the original source material.
Yeah.
And it hit all the right notes.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
It moved in a good pacing. It didn't feel the need to go to 20 different locations.
That's nice.
It also didn't feel the need to add unnecessary villains to deal with.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, we didn't get that one weird character who like never appeared in the comics just to like be the audience surrogate. I mean, clearly Myers is the audience surrogate, but he's
but not even several giant gross demon creatures, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They stuck to that, and it was
and their plot mechanic was really specific and kind of scary in its own way. Each time you kill one, you get two more.
Yeah.
So that by itself, it's like, oh, and they're not going to talk about that again? And you just see it the rest of the time, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So let's see. They go in, get separated, and caught up in booby traps. Hellboy ends up with Manning. Hellboy kills Cronin, and he and Manning gain begrudging respect for each other.
Manning tries to flex on him on that bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like basically whining, I'm in charge.
And then the bridge collapse. The corpse says, I was better off dead.
The bridge collapses. And when they meet Cronin, when Cronin first hits Manning, he's just like, what are you doing that for? Before he finally mans up and starts throwing those gears at his head.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then, okay, so, and I was going to, at first, I was going to complain that they just forgot about Manning, because there's that scene where he says, come back soon. It's kind of spooky.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the last we see of him. But it's not actually the last we see of him. And I'll wait until we get there. So then, meanwhile, Myers and Liz stumble into a den of the Resurrection Hounds after having a brief conversation about the fact that they're not dating.
Sorry, real quick. Back when he, with Cronin and Hellboy says to him, you killed my father. Your ass is mine. I totally wanted him to say
prepared to die.
Die. Yeah.
I said it out loud. To myself.
Yeah, totally.
Same.
100. Absolutely.
He also, he tells, after Cronin gets the spikes, he tells him that's all for you. And he said that previously to one of the Sammy creatures. So he said it twice, that's all for you. And that he actually used that phrase in the comic books exactly twice when he's killing the frog demons.
That's dope.
Interesting. All right, so Hellboy arrives, saves them all from the Sammys, but he can't fight all the monsters at once. So Liz asks for a little rough trade and goes full fire starter to burn them all up, knocking herself, Myers, and Hellboy unconscious in the process. They wake up.
I also I missed the part where Manning teaches Hellboy to use the wooden matches on cigars instead of his Zippo.
Yeah.
It was a cute moment that they finally found common ground.
Yeah.
In cigar smoking.
Well, yeah, and and it's true, because we see both Manning and Hellboy, famously smokes cigars, and we see Manning smoking cigars throughout the movie too.
Yeah. And I paid attention. He consistently uses a wooden match. Manning does throughout the movie whenever he's lighting a cigar.
Huh.
This is a very well-made film.
Yeah,
it really is.
So they wake. Let's see. They wake up as prisoners to Rasputin and his lady friend, and then Rasputin does a ceremony that involves sucking out Liz's soul. In return for saving Liz, Hellboy agrees to open the door to another dimension. His horns regrow, he gets a nifty new hat, and the space squids are about to show up when Myers gives Hellboy his dad's crucifix, and Hellboy decides to be good again. If I'm going to complain about one thing of this movie, that was a little anticlimactic. Just like, here's your dad's crucifix. Remember, you're not bad. Just like,
he gets a little cross burn on his hand.
And I was like, you're right. I'm not bad. But it's a small.
Well, and it was weird because I felt like what they were really trying to get across was that he had agency. You have a choice, but it just felt like, here's a rosary. Because it was a rosary, it felt really like, what? Yeah. That just my opinion. I don't like Christian iconography like that in movies. I think it's weird. But yeah, that was what it felt like, was the you're not just evil. Even though you are evil, you evil son of a bitch.
Yeah, you have a choice.
Make a choice. Yeah. Which is cool as a ultimate moment in a movie, I guess.
It is.
We don't see that a lot.
It is. I feel like Myers was kind of a lame character. Or maybe it was just the acting was kind of lame. He was definitely the weakest part of the film.
Yeah.
Although not terrible or anything, just kind of blah compared to everything else, which kind of was firing on all cylinders.
He was kind of the Watson to the, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and he was supposed to be the audience surrogate. He's your everyman, but he was a very boring everyman, especially like even as far as everymen go.
Yeah.
Like you can have an everyman who's interesting. I mean, Will Smith was supposed to be an everyman in Men in Black, and he brought a lot to that film.
Ethan Hawke in Training Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, Hellboy is no longer bad. He breaks off his horns, closes the portal, kills Rasputin, carries Liz out as a squid monster bursts out of Rasputin's body and begins growing rapidly.
So this bit, Mike Mignola, he actually came up with the idea for the squid, the tentacle thing, crawling out of Rasputin's stomach after Hellboy slices him open for the original comic book, but he never used that idea. And then he came to this project, and Guillermo Del Toro had independently come up with the same idea to put in his movie.
Oh, cool!
Wow.
Which was a pleasant surprise.
Totally.
Did Mignola intend for him to get gored on the horns? Because I thought that was a cool touch.
Yeah.
Snapping the horns off, and because that's what horns are for, is to gore people.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what horns are for.
In Seed of Destruction, his horns never grew back. He didn't snap them off. Yeah, there would be later storylines where his horns come in full. But
so let's see. The squid finishes off Rasputin and his gal Friday. After getting Liz and Myers to safety, Hellboy makes friends with Myers, then goes back in with the grenade belt, fights off the squid, blows him up, and returns to Liz and Myers. Liz isn't breathing, but Hellboy whispers softly to her, and she starts breathing again. Then she and Hellboy kiss while she bursts into flames, and Myers does the outgoing voiceover. Roll credits.
There you go.
His line was hilarious. Just the awkwardness of that shit. Of like, I saw you on the other side, and I was like, hey. I forget exactly what he says, but it's like the fucking dumbest thing I've ever heard.
What he was saying, he implied that he was threatening death itself. Like he saw Liz on the other side, and he spoke to whatever was there on the other side. Just like, I'm coming for you if you don't let her go. Like, yeah, he's gonna go chase after death.
I love it. It's just, it seems so dumb and like juvenile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very much a teenage love story. Those two. But hey, then we get a mid-credit sequence with Manning still just waiting for them to come retrieve him.
Yeah.
This is our first credit sequence since Swamp Thing 2, isn't it?
2. Swamp Thing 2, yeah.
Or did we have one in between?
I think we had one in between, but I can't remember what now.
Yeah. But either way, they're slowly starting to appear. And that was funny because I was seriously like, hey, they just forgot about Manning.
It was Daredevil with Bullseye in the hospital.
That's right. That's right.
Failing to fly.
That's right. But
one of the funnier credits I noticed was visual effects by the orphanage.
Just a bunch.
They had little kid slaves.
Yeah. And that's it. That is Hellboy. That was a good movie. I don't know. There's not much else to say about it.
I thought I saw this. I saw the second one. I'd never seen this movie.
Oh, wow.
I love this. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. It was great. A lot.
It was really good. Yeah. You guys have any last thoughts on this before we're kind of quick through it, but there's not a lot to say besides it was good. You should go see it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't overcomplicate the story too much. Like they beefed up some of the elements from the source material. Like you said, sort of, pulling in elements from throughout the storyline, not just the original graphic novel.
Yeah.
or miniseries.
Yeah, and that's like so many movies will like pull like a story from a comic run and then add a bunch of their own elements to it.
Right.
Yeah.
And this,
like the MCU.
Yeah.
Hellboy debuted in 1994, so they had almost 10 years worth of material to pick from, as opposed to like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen came out like a couple years or maybe 1 year even before they started production on that.
Right. You know, watching this directly after League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, it could not be a sharper contrast between.
Seriously.
And they both have similar elements, like a little steampunky, kind of an independent graphic novel run, but just this is so much better.
Well, just you're invested in the characters so much more. Even the human guy that I forget his name already.
Yeah, John, the regular man. Yeah.
I feel like Del Toro does such a good job capturing the stuff that's not necessarily visual, the emotional aspects of the comic book itself. Because I read a little bit of it years and years ago, and I just remember it feeling kind of awkward in like the funny way that people stood and stuff. And watching this, you can see it acted that way and filmed. Like the fish guy feels weird. He's a weird guy. He's a fish.
Yeah.
Like that stuff comes across so clearly with Guillermo Del Toro. Whereas like with the X-Men, everything is sexy and cool. You know, like you're just sexy in a different way. Everybody's sexy, but different. Everybody's different and weird and quirky. And even the big, strapping demon dude. But yeah, something I'm going to watch for in other Del Toro movies that I did not necessarily catch in Blade.
Yeah.
Or Blade 2, I mean.
Yeah. Blade
Crimson Peak is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Pan's Labyrinth, of course, is a great film. But yeah, Blade 2, he definitely didn't have as free of reign as he did in this, for sure. You can just see it. So that will bring us to the rankings. Where are we going to put this? Our 50th film. I'm looking pretty high on the list personally.
Same. What's our top 10?
So, okay. I'll count. Well, so at number 1, we've got Batman. Number 2 is Spider-Man. Number 3 is X2. And number 4 is the first X-Men. 5 is Superman. 6 is Batman Returns. 7 is Blade. 8 Unbreakable. 9 The Crow. 10 Batman 66. So I definitely I'm thinking somewhere around the X-Men area.
Yeah.
What are some thoughts on that, fellas?
Yeah, that feels about right. Better than Superman?
I think it's better than Superman.
Sure.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, is this better than the X-Men movie? Is this better than?
I think it's a better film than the first X-Men film. I mean, the first X-Men film does more for comics, but this is a better movie, hands down.
Yeah. I mean, well, I considering Josh, you often say, we're looking for the comic book aspect of what it is, and
right
in our arbitrary ranking system. This does so much with the original comic book source material without betraying any of it whatsoever. There was nothing that went like, well, they shouldn't have done X, Y, or Z at all in this movie.
Is it better than X2?
I think it is.
Yeah, I think it might be. This is a fun conversation. Is it better than Spider-Man?
I mean, in ways, kinda. But
as a comic book movie?
As a comic book movie, also not. I mean, how do you put Hellboy above Spider-Man? Like, that's like... that's rough.
I know.
I mean, when we get to Spidey 2... I don't think that'll be a question, but the first one had some issues.
It's true. Well, and the lineage of these movies too is part of that. This is standing on the shoulders of other movies.
Well,
standing on the shoulders of Blade 2.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys.
I think it's better than X-Men 2.
Yeah, me too.
Al?
I'll go along with the crowd.
All right. Let's stick
Swamp Thing, here we go.
let's stick it at number 3 then. Hellboy coming in at number 3 on our big list. Our list of the top films ranked, which brings us to next week. This was our 50th film. So next week, rather than doing number 51, which is a doozy, we will be doing our retrospective top 50 countdown, our 50th episode, our 50th film special. Join us next week. We're going to take a look back at these 50 movies, count them down from 50 to number 1. It'll be fun. Join us for that. And then after that, we're going back, taking on the next 50, starting with a movie we'll reveal next week. Yeah, that's it, guys. Join us next week for our 50th movie special. For Harmless Phosphorescence, this has been Pancake Delivery Boy Thoreau Smiley.
I'm Josh Cece, and I live near you.
I'm Brian Lesh, and I'm going to go file my horns.
I'm Alaric Weber, and for every one of me that fall, 2 shall arise.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Harmless Phosphorescence was brought to you by executive producers Atticus Burkett and Michael Beckwith, and producers Alyssa Dent, Hedda Paulson, and Jojo Birchtree. Harmless Phosphorescence is a production of the Harmless Entertainment Network.